and welcome to this training video where we're going to be looking at how to pause a client during their program in PT Distinction. Now, I want to talk about whether you should be pausing programs or not, and also if you do want to pause programs, how you can do that effectively. And we're going to start from the absolute basics of just switching a client offline, all the way through to how to actually pause the delivery of your program to those clients and restart them back again at the appropriate point. So without further ado, let's go and take a look. So before we go and look in the PT Distinction software about how to technically pause a client, I want to talk about whether you should pause a client or not. Now, let's just explore this idea about what a client comes to us for in the first place. Normally, when a client comes to us, they have a particular goal that they want to achieve. And normally when we're trying to find out or understand that goal, we dig down deeper into why they're actually doing that in the first place. Normally, the first goal that they come and approach us with as coaches and as trainers is normally not the real reason why they're actually working with us in the first place. So that comes to beg the question, if they have this particular goal they want to work to, and you as a coach have sat there and worked backwards from that goal to find out what it's going to take to help them get there, to lay out this path for them, why would they need to pause that program? Because pausing that program is just going to delay how long it takes them to get to the goal. That's one way of looking at it. But the other way of looking at this is realistically, as coaches, for the majority of people, we need to make sure whatever we do with them fits into their lifestyle. This is one of the beauties of online personal training. We can use our online personal training service to fit into our clients' lifestyle to help them change their habits and their methodology around how they eat, about how active they are, about what they do in their everyday lives to help them actually live the life that they want, to help them achieve the goals they want to set out. Now, you tend to get one of these two clients. Either a client is going to go, I've got this very strict goal, I'm going to go for it, or you're going to get a client that really what you want to do is help them fit this approach into their lifestyle. Now, whichever way you look at these two things, there isn't really a need to pause something for a client. If you have a client that's a very specific goal, such as a marathon or something like that, then basically what's going to happen is you either work towards that goal or you don't. That's as simple as it is. If they really want to work towards that goal, stage prep or whatever it is, then they don't really need to take a break. What you need to do is adapt that program so they can still continue to move towards that goal. Likewise, on the other side, if you're working with, say, a client doesn't really have a particular goal, such as a marathon or a stage prep or whatever it is, but maybe they want to look better for whatever reason, or they just want to improve their health or whatever it is. If you look at it that way, you've got to try and adapt that program so it fits in their lifestyle. It doesn't matter whether they want to go on holiday. It doesn't matter if they're ill. What you need to do is adapt the program to suit the lifestyle at the time. There's no real need to go and stop anything in particular. Now, that's in terms of program delivery. There's all going to be things inside your program that you may want to stop for them. Say, for example, you might have automated email sequences that go out based on certain things that happen in the program, in which case you might want to stop that. There's going to be other areas as well. Maybe it comes to workout. Maybe you've got workouts that are already pre-built out and you want to stop the delivery of those. That's fine. You can go and do that. However, though, I wouldn't stop the whole program completely. I'd still have tracking running. I'd still have maybe adaptations of those programs so they can try and fit in some activity wherever they can do. I'd always try and adapt the program because at the end of the day, they're paying you to help them get a result. They shouldn't be able to come to you and say, pause. It doesn't really work like that. It's no different to, let's say, if you went to a doctor or your client went to their doctor and they needed to take a course of medication in order to help them solve whatever problem they've got. When they're halfway through that course of medication, they don't just go to the doctor, I can't bother to have it this week. I'm going on holiday. I'm not going to take my tablets while I'm there. Like, it just doesn't happen. You just need to adapt this to suit whatever's going on in your clients' lives. So what I want to talk about in this video is go through, well, how can you adapt things for your clients inside PT Distinction, and also what you can do in terms of setting up your PT Distinction so you can do a mix of both. So you can stop things like automated workouts or automated emails or messages going out, but still continue tracking with the client in PTD, still adapt things to help them get the best results possible. So I want to explore the fundamentals of literally pausing and stopping the client from having accessing the app, but I also want to look at what you can do with your setup and how you can set it up using the power of groups, which we've talked about many times in these videos, to actually pause clients effectively and restart them back into your programs again. So let's go and take a look in P2D, and I'm going to show exactly how to set all this up. So we've spoke about whether you should pause a program or not, but there probably are going to be time to time where you're going to have to go and pause something for a client. So what I want to do here is show you how you can actually do that in P2 Distinction. I want to show you the absolute fundamental basics of literally just stopping a client from accessing things and how that would work and what things to think about when you do that, all the way through to how you can actually set up your P2 Distinction in the most effective way in order to actually pause programs for your clients. And we're going to be using groups in order to do that. And I'm going to go through all of that in detail during this training. So first of all, let's take a look at the absolute basics of this. We've got a client, they've contacted and said, look, for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I need to pause the program. Like, I can't do anything inside this program. So let's say we've got our client. I'm going to go into my global search at the top. And I'm going to type in me, my Ash Burley client. We're going to nip into the account. So I'm going to go into this account here, and I can see over we've got stuff on the schedule. We have stuff in the setup area, some workouts for the clients, coaching items, all sorts of different things going out for the client in here. Now, at the moment, this is going to continue to go out for the client, and anything on the schedule, as you can see here, they're going to get notifications through. They're going to get push notifications through. And obviously, ideally, we don't want that to happen. So the simplest way to stop these notifications from going out is to just go up into the edit client section up here and just switch that client to print only or inactive and hit save. And all that means now is that trainer or that client, won't get any notifications through. They won't be able to log in via the app. In fact, they won't be able to do anything. They'll basically just be completely out of it. And that's it. So they can't log in. And then when you're ready to start them back again, all you need to do is come back into the account, hit on the settings, and then switch it back to online and click save. And now the client will be able to log back in. There are a couple of things you need to know when you're doing that particular process here. So the first thing is, when you switch a client offline or online, they won't be notified. So you will need to go and notify them. So say, for example, you want to come in here and switch this client offline. What I recommend you do is send them an email, and I will do it through here. So I'll go into the actual client's account, switch them to offline, go into the message center up here, because bear in mind, you can't send them in-app messages now because you've made them offline. Go onto email and just send them a regular email out saying, hey, Joe Blogs, I've just moved you offline for the next 2 weeks. Once you're back and ready to go, we'll switch you back on again. But until that point, you won't be able to log into any of your app or members area, and you won't get any notifications through for your program. Nice and simple, because what we're doing here is adding clarity. The most important thing you can do as a business, as a coach as well, is to add clarity. The more clarity you can add for your clients, the better. Because if you don't send this message, what might happen is the client might message you and say, hey, Ash, have you actually done this? Have you switched me offline? I'm not going to get notifications for. I don't want to be bothered while I'm away on holiday. It might not seem like much, but if you've got lots of clients doing that, it's going to become a lot of extra work for you just responding back to clients for doing it. So you can preempt this by adding clarity in. It's also more professional to let people know that these things are happening. It's a very simple and quick way for you to do it, just by sending this message over to them. It also means you've got a record. The important thing here is you need to remember everything you're doing for your clients as well. So if you sent this message out here to say you switch the client offline, and maybe they come back saying, hey, Ash, I can't log in, what's going on? Well, you can actually go back into your sent items here and see that message that's been sent out to the client saying, hey, look, Joe, you mentioned was going on holiday, you didn't want to receive anything. I even sent you an email through to let you know that I've actually knocked you offline. I'll put you back on again once you come back aboard to let us know. You have that clarity, you have that line of communication. And this is really what distinguishes the difference between a professional online coach and professional online business and just doing things online. Like, having these little systems in place is going to make it so much smoother for you and for your clients. Just make your life a lot easier. So that's one thing I'll do. And likewise, when you're ready to come back online again, what I'll do is go back in here, switch them online, do exactly the same thing. I would send them an email through again to let them know that you switch everything back online. And what I would also do is click the chat bot up here and send a little message in here saying, hey, welcome back to the program. Make sure you take a look around. If you've got any questions before we get started again, please do let us know. Again, adding that clarity in, you let them know via email that you switched them back online. Again, you're preempting this. You're getting ahead of the client. And then what you're going to do is welcome them back in by using the in-app message as well into the app. And again, it's just those little tiny things that are going to make all the difference in terms of the client experience and also the customer service that you're offering to your clients. So that's what I'll do if I was just switching on and off. So that's one thing to think about. The other thing you need to remember is, as I've kind of alluded to there, is they won't get messages through. They won't get notifications through from anything on the schedule, but they will get emails through. So if inside your message center for your client and you've switched them offline or inactive, and you've got emails that are scheduled to go out for that client, they are still going to go out. They're still going to receive them. So what you need to do if you're in here and you've got emails going out to your client, and you're just going straight into this and you haven't set it up the way that I'm going to recommend you set it up a little bit later on in this training, then what you're going to have to do is go in here and either switch off these emails or delete them. Now, deleting them means obviously you have to rewrite them out again. Switching off is not really switching off an email. You can't stop them from going as such, but what you can do is click on here and click view edit, and you can change the date it's going to go out. So you can pick a date into the past sometime if you like on here, and just click complete on there. And that just means that's in the past, so it won't get triggered. All you then have to do is then when you bring your client back on again, is to come back into the message center and reschedule these at the relevant date you want it to go out again in the future, just like so. So you're going to have to start editing these things around if you're doing it this particular way. And that's also the same in the client's account here. If you have content that's drip feeding out to your client, maybe in the coaching area like this, and as you can see here, this isn't copied from a group. So this is just content you've added in. And some of these things are going to be added to the schedule for the client. Some of these things are going to be live on particular dates here. Even if you switch a client to inactive or print only, they will still technically be working their way through this process. So they will still progress through the schedule because these are all set by their date on here. So even if they go on holiday, say today, the 25th, and on the 25th here, as you can see, and they're holiday away for a week, they will still technically in their app go through this week. It just means they can't log in and get notifications. So when they actually come back, they're actually effectively starting here, and they would have missed out this week of the program. That's if they're having a week off, for example. So like we did with the emails there, what we're going to have to do is go in here and reschedule these things. There's lots of ways to do that. You can literally just click on it, click edit, and move it to another time and date that suits them. You can, of course, delete it if you want to from there. There's lots of different options. But again, if you're moving things around on the schedule, make sure you also move it by the live date on here. If you still want it to drip feed out, just noting that your live is actually different to your schedule. So they won't interchange with each other. It just means that if you change the schedule, it won't change the live date and so on. So make sure you adapt the live dates and the scheduling dates for any content you've got set up. That goes the same for workout programs as well. If you have these scheduled out for the client, then I would go and reschedule those. One of the beauties of using workouts here, though, is that you can actually just go into here, and if it is scheduled, just go on to scheduling progressions and just select all. You can just delete them. And then what you can do, it removes it from the schedule. And then when they're ready to start back again, just head back into your setup, go into the program you want to schedule and reschedule it for the dates and times that you want them to continue working on these with. So effectively what I'm saying here is you want to pause the client, you can switch them offline and just go and reschedule any of the content and change the live dates appropriately for that client, making sure that you specifically adapt the emails first. Rescheduling the content you can do at any point. You can do it when they start back again, you can do it while they're away, it doesn't really matter. However, the emails, it's always a good idea to do that as soon as you switch them to print only or inactive, because if you don't, they're still going to receive those emails whilst they're actually inactive. So just bear that in mind. So I get it. Now you're thinking, okay, Ash, that's quite a lot of work to do. If I've got lots and lots of stuff pre-built out inside a program here, then that's a lot of work to do. So how can you get around that? Well, one option is using groups. And you may already use groups already. You may have a group set up with lots and lots of content in there, and that's fine. And what you could do, and you might be thinking this, I could just remove the group. That'll pull all that content out that I've delivered to them, and then I can just add them back into the group again. And you can do that in theory. That's not a problem at all. Because what that will do is remove everything out. They'll stop getting notifications through. Then when you add it back in again, it will allow them to start. But what happens if they're halfway through a group that you've got built out? Well, one of the beauties of groups, and we'll just nip back into our test account here, is that when you add a group in, if we go and click add and hit the drop down menu here, and let's go and add in our 12-week coaching content group here. I can add it in now. Now, if I add it in now, it means effectively that client's going to start that program again. But what I can do is I can choose a date. Now, most people think you can choose a date in the future, but you can also choose a date in the past. So let's say that a client originally signed up to this program, to working with you on the 1st of April. And then on the 15th of April, they decided to have a week off. So they're going away on the 15th of April, and then they're going to come back and start again on the 22nd of April. So how can you deal with that with the groups? Well, you can backdate it. They've had a week off here. So all we need to effectively do is backdate the original start date a week earlier than what they originally started. So if they originally started on the 1st, if we go and add this in a week earlier, so if we go to March here and we go back a week earlier, which would be the 25th of March, and click add, what this will do is copy that content in, but it will effectively account for that week that they've had off. Or if it's 2 weeks off, it's 2 weeks. If it's 3 weeks, it's 3 weeks. Whatever you do, you backdate the start date from when they originally started. And this is why it's a good idea to make sure you have good records of this. And as I was talking about earlier, having the right systems in place to see exactly what week people are in and what day they actually signed up to that particular group. Because it's going to make this process a lot easier when you're pausing. And the beauty about using a group in this way is that you don't have to wait until they start back again, because as soon as they want to have a break, you can go in there, you know when they're going to start back, you adapt the start date for your main group with your content in, and then when they're ready to go back on again, you just go in there, you switch them back online, everything's sat there waiting for them, ready to go. So again, that's something worth noting. Now, there's one extra step I need to mention about this when it comes to groups. When you remove groups and you remove the content when you remove that group, so let's say if we go on this group here and I go and remove this, we have the option to remove the content. That's effectively what you're going to be doing. You're going to be removing that content, stop notifications going out. When you do that, it will technically mean it's going to remove any data that you've got with that. Now, it's not going to remove any workout data as such, because the workout data itself is stored against the exercises, not the programs. So it doesn't matter whether you edit, adapt, remove, or add workout programs. It's the exercises that stores the data. However, things that it will start to account for and remove are things like some of the check-ins, maybe your results tracking, your forms, all that kind of thing. And obviously what you don't want to do is go and remove a group and remove all the forms, so you lose all the PAR-Qs, the informed consents, and everything else that you need as a coach in order to deliver your services properly. And of course, you don't want to lose any of those progress photos or any of those results tracking or anything else that you've got all set up inside. You want to keep all that. So this comes down to really how you actually set up your P distinction in the first place. And that's what I want to talk about now. I want to talk about a specific approach you can take to setting up your P distinction that will give you a crazy amount of flexibility for not just pausing clients like this, but in every aspect of your online delivery. In fact, over on the PT Ninja 101 course and the online personal training certification, this is exactly how we show you to set this up, because it gives you a ridiculous amount of flexibility. It allows you to adapt and adjust programs and customize them in a matter of seconds for your clients. It allows for a crazy amount of automation. It allows you to deal with packages and all sorts of cool things. So this routine, this process here I'm going to talk about is called group stacking. And it's the idea of using multiple groups in order to create a program for your client. And the reason this is going to become really handy is because what we can do is we can have a onboarding group or welcome group that has our forms in and our videos in and welcome documents and processes and things like that. We could also have a results tracking group that tracks all the progress for that client over time as well in there. And what that means we can do is we can just remove the groups that don't have that extra tracking and don't have the welcome group, don't have the forms in, don't have the tracking in. So we just remove effectively the content of the program that they're working on, and then we add it back in again, but we leave all the tracking the same. Because they're not going to get notifications through, because we're using it's in-app notifications coming through. They're not going to get that because they're inactive. You know, they're internally not going to get any from there. But it also means that we're still going to maintain that data. We're going to keep all that in one place. And that's actually quite relevant, because if your client is actually going away and pausing a program, either way, they have still paid you as a coach to get them a result. And we can't just ignore the fact that they've had a week off or 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off. We can't, because that's giving us incorrect data to help decide on what we need to do in the program for our client. We need to see that. So realistically, what we need to be able to see is that when we go into our results tracking, for example, maybe we're tracking body weight, if they haven't tracked something for 3 weeks, and we can see at the start of that week or in the end of that week or 3 weeks or whatever it is, or 2 weeks, whatever it is, we can see that difference of what's happened. That is data that is going to help us make better decisions for our clients to move them forward. We need to know that. So we shouldn't remove that data. We shouldn't not be tracking and taking account for that. So that should be running. It should continue to run regardless of whether they pause their program or not. So let's look at how that will be set up. Now, we've actually talked about this already in previous training over on the blog and obviously inside the Facebook group, P-Distinction Facebook group as well, where we talk about the onboarding process and the importance of getting your onboarding process. And we actually gave you some free resources that you can use in the community section up here. And we're going to use some of those resources today as well. If you haven't got those resources, head over to community, go into, I'll just quickly show you actually, while we're on here, head to community, go into partners and head over onto PT Ninja on here. And you can actually download a welcome group or welcome pack and a results tracking group as well. And it's those groups we're going to be using here. So if I'm just going to type these in to the top, you can see here we have this welcome group. And all we've got inside this welcome group in the setup section is our forms, some coaching items to welcome into the program, and all that kind of thing. It's all in here ready to go. And then we also have our results tracking group as well, which we're going to pop inside here. And this results tracking group also has here some information about how to track the results, and also going to have their tracking and stuff set up as here, as well as everything on the schedule for them as well going out to that client. So we're going to have those groups set up already. They're already pre-done. And again, all this information in these groups, things that your clients don't need again if they start again. There's no need for them to have this again, no matter what they're doing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to have some other groups. Now, we may have workout groups. We may have coaching groups. So if I just type in coaching into here, we've got some different coachings here. Maybe we've got this 12-week flagship, and the one we used an example earlier. You can see in here, we have all our lessons and stuff just set up. And all this have here is just some lessons going out to the clients, with different messages and whatever set up inside here. Everything's already pre-done and set up, made up in that group. So that's basically the kind of syllabus, the program that they're following when it comes to learning about nutrition. Maybe it could be like a 12-month habit coaching program, something like this. Again, I just want to give you a couple of examples because a lot of time when we go through this, it's like, well, what if it's this? What if it's that? I want to give you just a few examples of the kind of thing you can do. Like you could have easily one like this with a nutritional coaching program, again, already pre-set up with all the tracking and stuff set up inside here on the nutrition side. And then you could do exactly the same thing with the workout side. So if we use our workout one here, you can see we have lots of different workout groups already set up, a 2-day split, a 4-day split, 5-day split, home gym, intermediate advanced, all those different things already pre-set up inside these groups. And we can utilize these with our clients. So when we add a client into a program, what we do is we add them to these different groups. We stack them all together. And if you're not sure already, just a couple of things to know about groups and the way they work. Groups are not really just about group coaching. It's basically a group of something. That can be a group of clients. It can be a group of workouts. It can be a group of content. It can be whatever it is. They're effectively kind of super powered templates that when you add a client to it, what you actually do is you take all that content and that content gets copied into the client's account. So once it's copied over, you can edit and adapt it and do whatever you want with it for that client. It will only affect that client. Now, if you edit something inside the group, it will update for all members of that particular group, of course, but at the client level, it only affects that client. And it means we can add and remove groups as many times as we want to, and we can stack these groups together so different content from different groups gets copied into that client's account and creates this overall program for our client. And the beauty about this is, well, your clients will never really know, well, they'll never know they're part of a group unless you actually tell them or show them they're actually part of a group. So they'll never know this. They'll just see this as one particular program. This group approach is going to make life so much easier for you. So now we've got these groups that we're going to go and use. We can actually add this to our clients. Now we can do this in a couple of different ways. We can just go into clients on the top. And then once we're in clients, we can click add. And we're adding our clients, we can use our group menu here to go and drop them in. Or what we can do is we can actually go and use our pre-made packages over this side here. We can go and sign up our clients to a pre-made package that already has all those groups already pre-set up in here. And they can obviously sign up the form, they can make payments, whatever else they want to do. That's the method we're going to use here. Now, I'm actually going to bypass the integration for this. So let's just go in there, let's go and do that now. And we're going to go and open up the form. And in this form here, I'm going to go and pop in some details. So I'm going to do an ASH test. I'm going to do an ASH test at PTD Ninja 2022 numbers.com at the end of it. I'm going to put in a super secure password of 123456. 123456. Choose my time zone. Tell the world I'm not a robot. I'm going to hit create an account. So this package is now going to fire. It's now going to trigger. We've added our client in. And this is probably one of the most common questions we get when people are offering packages. It's like, all this stuff is pre-automated. All this stuff is going out. Yes, I tweak and adapt and adjust it for my clients to help them get the best results possible. But how do I actually pause this? They're in these kind of pre-made programs. Maybe it's a fully automated program. Like, how do you pause it? And that's what I'm going to show you right now. And this is group structure that's going to allow you to do that very, very effectively. So I'm going to head back into my client's account now. I'm going to go and filter this down to date added. And there you go. You can see we have our test client that I've just added in, automatically added in. You can see here the workouts are running for that client. I'm going to click on this client's account. I'm going to head in, and I'm just going to first go up to the groups to show you in here. So you can see all those groups have now been automatically added in. I've got some groups pending to start on different days and all that kind of stuff ready to go. Now, over this way here, you can see I've got my workout programs in. I've got the coaching content in, all drip feeding out to the client, just like it was before when we had that individual client I was looking at. All the forms and stuff already set up to go. And yeah, so everything's already pre-done in there. So at this point, I know if I go back over here, when my client was added, I can see that down here. So I'm going to filter this through. I'm going to go last active, date added. And here I can see the date that was added in as a client, and then date down here when they was last active. Now, of course, they may have signed up to other programs and things like that, and that's fine. You may have sold them through different programs and add them in. So that added date here might not be exactly right here. So you need to know the date that they've actually started whatever program or package you've sold to them. And the best way to do that is actually to use information inside their account. Like we use it by, we know with our welcome documents in here. So we have a welcome pack that goes out, a welcome document for our client down here, which is welcome to your journey. I can just hit the drop down menu and hit scheduling. And I know with that one that this client started on the 28th of April. It tells me instantly because that document is added on joining. That's added at the time that the client signed up, the time and date the client signed up. So that tells me instantly. And because I'm using group stacking, I will never ever remove that group from it. It's always going to be there. So there's lots of different ways you can do this. You can also have other groups that tell you this. You can use weekly check-in groups and things like that to tell you this, which I've covered in other videos. So lots of different ways to do it depending on the type of setup you want to do. But either way, as long as you know when that client started, whether it's using something like that, or whether it's just using the information that's on that card that we looked at earlier in the client section, as long as you know when they signed up, this is going to work fine. So let's say our client signed up here and they now want to have a week's holiday. All I need to do is come into here. First thing I'll do is go up into edit on here, and I'm going to switch this client to inactive or print only so they can no longer access anything. So I'm going to do that. Then what I'm going to do is I would add them a little message in here in the message center, say, hey, I've just switched you offline. Do exactly what I talked about before in there, just to let them know that that's what we've actually gone and done. If you want to get really, really fancy, you could actually have a group already pre-made up for this. If you've got lots of clients that are pausing all the time, again, I would think about what I talked about earlier at the start of this training. If you've got lots of clients that are pausing all the time, you could have a group that is set up that has that email automatically triggered to go out when you add a client to it. And the advantage of that is, well, it organizes all your clients. So you can actually see in that group what clients have paused. So remember, I talked about groups can organize clients. You can do that as well. So if you find you're pausing clients a lot, I would highly recommend you set up a group for that. Call it pause clients. It'll give you a list of them all and have that email going out automatically for them. Just makes life a lot easier. But either way, we're going to send a message to them to let them know this is what's actually happened. Then what we're going to do is sort this content out. We don't want these, we don't want emails going out to them yet. We don't want this coaching content to go necessarily out for them yet. We don't really want any of these programs to be scheduled out for them yet. So what I'm going to do is go to my groups. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my coaching content group down here. So I'm just going to hit remove from that. That's just going to take the coaching content out. Tracking and stuff will stay where it is. You can see all that. So none of the workouts have gone yet. None of the tracking's gone yet. All that important stuff is still there, and it's always going to remain there. But the rest of the coaching content is gone. It's just our welcome stuff that's there. All the other coaching content's gone. So now what I do is I go back up into my groups at the top. I hit add group, hit the drop down menu. I go and pull up that group again. And this time I'm going to go date. So I know that this client originally started on the 28th, which is here. So they're going off for 2 weeks. So I'm going to backdate the start date for the 14th of April. Click add, click OK. So now when I switch them back on in 2 weeks after they come back off their holiday, their vacation, they're going to actually start off exactly where they left off. And we can actually see that over here on the schedule. So now you can see we're actually 3 weeks into this particular program on here. And that's how they're going to start working their way through. And we do exactly the same with the workout groups. So we can go in here, we can remove the workout groups from there, and we can go and add it back in. Just bear in mind, though, if you are going through this approach and you have made tweaks and changes to the workouts already, if you remove the group and re-add it, those tweaks and changes that you made will be lost. The data won't be, but the tweaks and changes will be. So if you've made tweaks and changes to a workout program, then I highly recommend you do what I did earlier, which is just unschedule everything and reschedule it appropriately for the client when the time comes. But of course, you can just do it this way and add in a different workout group for them if you want to, using, for example, down here, these groups. I would also recommend that you use groups and program templates as well for when you're doing workout design, but I'll do another training on that in the future about how to really make the most of the program design features and program building features inside PTD. So there you go. And then when actually that client's ready to come back on, all you need to do is come back in here, and then you can click on edit and switch that client to online in here, and then you're kind of ready to go. Some people also ask, how can I remember to go and put the client back online again if they're on holiday, because I might have lots of them to go and do it. If you do want to go and do that, you can actually go and add a reminder in to do it. Now, you can use your trainer calendar up here and just go straight into your calendar and do it. But what I like to do is click the add button on here, and I like to add in a coaching item and a text document. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this here client back from vacation in here. You can even add notes in here about like what they're on vacation for or anything else you want to talk about. Switch that to inactive. That means your client can't see it. Click save. Then we're going to add it to the schedule. So this client is coming back off on their holiday in a week from today, or 2 weeks from today, I should say. So there we go. And then what I'm going to do is click the advanced option and click on trainer calendar. And then I'm going to click add. So that's now in their accounts. We can see that if we go forward in here. So there it is. You can see it's got this darker line around the outside of it. So that's telling my client is back from vacation. So when I actually log into my PTD account, I can go up into the account section and in my calendar, and this is telling me things I've got to do for clients. So you can see here I have some calorie targets set up for clients in here. But if I go through into May, I can see, oh, there you go. There's my client that's back from vacation. So now what I need to do is head into their account, switch them back active again, and I'm all ready to go. So a lot of these kind of things here, there's obviously a lot we've covered in that video. And hopefully it's giving you an idea of different ways of pausing clients depending on the type of setup you've got, and just some of the methodology behind why you might do things in a certain way. I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's been useful. As always, if you've got any questions whatsoever, please let us know in the comments, which will be somewhere around this video, depending where you're watching it. And yeah, I hope that's been really, really helpful. I hope now you get a good idea of how you can kind of set up your PTD distinction a bit more effectively, and also how to pause clients in your PTD accounts. So that's it for me. If you need any more help and support, please feel free to go and check out ptdninja.com. Take a look at our PT Ninja 101 course or our online personal training certification. Or if you just want some help setting all this kind of stuff up, then get in touch and take a look at either our gold or our platinum done for you services, where you can have everything set up that you like. We can even create content for you, do everything for you, do all the integrations, all the automations, in fact, create anything you want really inside PT Distinction. That's it for me. I'll see you all at the next video.